Hey guys, Todd with 306 Foxbody. I almost started without you. The 95 is getting a new fuel pump. There's nothing wrong with the fuel pump that's in it, but with a few of the things we've got done to the car, I went to a little bit bigger fuel pump, went to a 255 liter per hour. It's the biggest I think I'd ever want to go with this. And it's always kind of been in the back of my mind that there's a 1995 fuel pump in there, a 28-year-old fuel pump. And it's just peace of mind knowing that it's got a new pump, because let's face it, there's only so many things that can fail usually. You know, a E.F.I module, a fuel pump, and not many people are going to be changing a fuel pump on the side of the road. Now with the S351, the rear bumper comes off pretty easy actually. I had to take the taillights out because there is screws here, here, all the way along here. There's a couple screws. I took one out here. There's one down there. And we're going to go into the car and see what else. The reason the back bumper has to come off, because let's face it, if it was a GT, the back bumper would never have to come off for, you know, any OEM Mustang. But here's what we got. The cover comes right up against the gas tank. I got a decent pump here. In the kit there's some hoses, a plug, some clamps, everything you need. But it's the Walbro pump. This is kind of a pretty standard quality pump. It's pretty decent. So that's what's going in. So we're going to get this back bumper off and get at the tank. What we got to do, because the straps pivot on the back here, we're going to go around. There's a bolt right there, and then one right there. So we're going to take those off, and then there's our filler neck right there. So we'll have to take that little 8mm out right there and get a board or something to put on the tank, and then get another floor jack. You can lower it down, or if you're strong enough. Anyways, be careful. Make sure there's no sparks or open flame. Changing a fuel pump it's simple, but you still got to be safe. So what I'm going to do is I'll loosen those straps off. I'll get my big floor jack here, and we'll get a board to put on it. We'll get something going here just to displace the weight of it. So here we go. We'll loosen those straps, the filler neck, and get that tank down. So here's what I did. This is the left strap, and it has a pin that goes through it. See? It has a pin that goes through it. The pin can be brought out through that hole right there, and just push on it through the other side with a screwdriver or something. Okay, so that's out of the way. I didn't realize, I think a Foxbody has a pin on this side too, but SN95 has a bolt. So I took, you can see I got the jack in place with a board underneath it. And I loosened this strap off. Instead of getting it totally out of the way, I just flipped it around. It turned around quite easily. And then there's a wire harness that just unplugs up over here. You'll see that. You can see the clip. I was careful with this clip. That came undone really nice. So now you just got to slowly lower it down, and then the filler neck, it'll come out. So we'll push the tank over to the driver's side, and you might have to wiggle the tank back and forth, because that's been sitting in there since 1995. It generally comes out pretty good. Sometimes if you lower the tank too much, that's too much pressure on the filler neck, and then you'll have a hell of a time getting it out. So just lower it down a bit, but then wiggle the tank, and then it should come. So I'm going to try that. Okay, we got the tank down on the ground. That's what we're going to be taking off. Actually, it's pretty clean for 1995. But I'm going to take some brake clean and spray this off. Use my air hose and clean this up. Get the debris to a minimum. Before we take that, there's a ring in here that we got to pop off to get the pump out. Okay, you guys can see we got that ring cleaned off. And what we got to do is right here, we got to move it counterclockwise to get that to release. Yeah, I tapped on that part. It went counterclockwise. Now, technically speaking, these clamps should be on here. Probably right over like this. None of the clamps are on. So I'm just going to see if I can take this out. Yeah, I'll probably have to get some kind of a clip release tool for this guy. And then I could likely pull these lines out here. I don't know if I have anything. See that quick disconnect tool right there? Make sure you have a couple of those small quick disconnect tools for the fuel lines. There's the fuel lines up there. It pushes those, see those prongs? It pushes those prongs out. Line comes off. Now I can pull the tank out. And actually, yeah, I forgot to take this off. That's just a vent. So make sure you get everything off. Pull the tank out, and then you can actually see what you're doing. Now, you got to be careful with, don't get rammy with this, whatever you do, because it will come out. It's just on its own terms. You can see how it kind of snakes its way out. And then there's the fuel filter on the bottom. There you go. And actually take pictures so you know which way the pump, well, you can see there's that right there, there's that notch. You can see where it fits right in the center of the screen, right there. So you can't mess up the way it goes. So I'm gonna get this into a pail, let it drain, then we can start doing the switch over. So keep in mind which way the filter is sitting as well. Because you see that notch right there? And then there's a notch on the other side. So just holding this up, the notches are in line with me. You can see them. And you can see which way that filter's sitting. So that filter's off on a 45-degree angle or so from the way the pump is set up here. But it's in line, it's perpendicular to the notches. And you can also see that the new pump is physically bigger than the old one. They give you a new plug, so the plugs are different. I really don't want to use the same plug. I want to use this new style clip. So you actually have to crimp the lines together, which I'm not crazy about, but that's how it is. So we'll get switching everything over. You got to pop the sock off. You got to undo these guys, and then the framework will come apart where you can take the pump out. It's pretty self-explanatory. Take a few pictures of things. case you mess it up. So I'm going to get a screwdriver. I'll pop this off, then I'll take the clamp off. Another clamp over here. They give you a new hose and stuff like that. So put new hardware in, then you're good to go. Here's that little clip I used. This one size did both of my lines. So if you go to the auto parts store, you'll be able to, they should have some of this here. If they don't have it in stock, they'll be able to get it in. We got the pump out of the housing. I undid the wires. Everything's actually in nice shape. There's no rusty junk or anything. Original pump. So it's good to save that stuff. Not that you'll be putting that back in, but if you ever had to in an emergency, you have a pump, you know it works. So yeah, we're going to go and start installing this into here, and we'll take a look at the instructions and everything else. Well, I got the pump configured the way I want it to. Everything looks about right. Just make sure all your connections are tight. Then we can drop this back into the tank. Get a new gasket and ever so carefully clean that debris out from around the edges. Maybe use a vacuum cleaner. So if you notice that baffle inside the tank, then you've guessed it. See those little tabs I was talking about? Right there. And right there where my thumb is. It's got to go in there. So this way we got to make sure that those tabs and the filter sock are lined up. So carefully put this in. Yeah, they really don't give you lots of room, but you can also look through the hole and see how it's going too. We managed to get everything in place, and you'll see how that goes in, and that has to go now clockwise. So I'll tap that clockwise till it gets up to that little bump stop area. 4 little tabs. Okay, everything's in place. Now we can push this back in place and get her up in the car. Well guys, we got it pretty much buttoned up. I got the tank up. I found it was easier that if you took these guys out, then you can put the filler tube into the tank easier, and then when you raise the tank up, that falls into place. And it's always a good idea to test your pump before you put everything back together. So we're going to test it, put the bumper cover and stuff on, and that pretty well buttons it up. So the 95 now has a 255 liter per hour pump. I'm just grateful that we removed the original one. Now that'll just give me, I think, a bit more confidence in wanting to drive the car a little further, because hey, a fuel pump, just like a water pump, just like an alternator, those are things that can fail, and those parts are all new on this car. So anyways, hope that helps somebody out when it comes to changing a fuel pump. Sort of the same principle from about 79 to 2004. The older ones, you'll want to do a similar job to change your fuel gauge sending unit. In 1985, of course, the GTs had the fuel pump on the engine, but if it was an automatic with the central fuel injection, the fuel pump was in the tank. And then it's pretty much the same from about 86 up until 1995. And then in 1996 to 2004, they went to that larger modular style pump and sending unit assembly. But the principles are still kind of the same. So hope this helps you out. Thanks for watching. I think I'm going to go for a spin. We'll catch you in the next video. Cheers.